Saxon Advanced Math Lesson 1.D, and we're going to talk about a couple of assumptions and betweenness and what tick marks mean. Now, a couple of things that we're going to start with here, betweenness. Something's between something else. We can make that assumption here. For instance, I've got a line A, C, B, and we can assume that C is between A and B because it's on the same collinear line as A and B. Therefore, we're assuming it's between the two. And that's an okay assumption. That's betweenness. If you have three lines or three dots, only one of them can be between the other two. And if they're on the same line, that's fine to assume that they're between. I can't say that there's a midpoint unless it's given to me. I can't say that this segment's equal to this segment. But I can say that C is between A and B. X is not collinear, therefore I can't assume this to be between, and that's not, by definition, not between A and B, although we could say it's close to, it does not qualify to be between them. It is, it's not on the same collinear, or the same line as A and B are, therefore it's not between. We have to make that assumption, or make that distinction, rather, because how close is too close? For instance, if X was here, it's more between, but here it is between, right? So it's becoming more and more between those two until it is actually between them. But because I don't know, are you okay with X being that far out? Well, what about if X was over here or over here? It's not really between them. By definition, between is on the collinear or on the same line that connects the 2 points. So C is the between point. Next is tick marks. We've been using these for years, but the book is going to take just a moment to clarify what a tick mark is and why it's important. This is a double tick mark. This means that AB is the same length as CD. Or this is a single tick mark. This says that this angle is the same as this angle. Here I have a really bad line, but I've got a double tick and a double tick, and so those tick marks are telling me those two angles are the same. That does not mean that this one and this one are the same because it's a single tick mark. That's a double tick mark. And as you look through your book, you'll notice that they'll do doubles, triples, quadruples. They'll even have a couple of 5 tick mark units. So, but that's not anything other than just saying, hey, this angle corresponds to that angle and they're the same. This line is the same as this line, or segment, I'm sorry, is the same. So that's what tick marks mean. Now, we're making some assumptions in this lesson, and the book is going to tell you what is okay to make an assumption on and what's not okay to make an assumption on. For instance, a straight line. You know what? My lines aren't perfect, but we're going to assume that's a straight line. Why? Because I can't draw it any better than that. We don't have to go out and prove that this is a straight line. If it looks like a straight line in the book, it's a straight line. That's an okay assumption. Collinear points. If they look like they're collinear, they probably are collinear. Okay, it's pretty easy to see that. Relative location of points. Well, the relative location, it's okay to say B is to the right of C on this one here. It's the relative location. It's not okay to say, oh, this is 2.3 and this is 3.2, because I can look at that and see it. No, I can't. I can't. I can tell you the assumption would be, well, one looks a little bigger than the other, but I can't even really make that assumption. I can say it's relatively closer to B than A, and that's an okay assumption. And then the betweenness of points, for instance, even if they don't draw the line, this X is obviously out, but if I had a point like this, A and B, and I said, there's that point C, okay, and they didn't draw the line, so that we don't know for sure it's collinear, you know what, they're not going to say, oh, that was that just a little bit off, so you're out. Sorry, that was not collinear. If they look betweenness because of that, collinear, then we're going to assume them to be so. What's not allowed? I can't assume right angles. I can't look at that and say, looks like a right angle to me. There it is. If it's a right angle and they're telling you it's a right angle, they'll give you the little box in here, and that takes the assumption out. Now it is by definition a right angle. But if it doesn't have that little box in the corner and it's just an angle, I can't say, well, this is a right triangle because it looks like a right triangle. It may be 91 degrees instead of 90 degrees. The next is equal lengths. I can't look at it if they don't tell me that they're equal, and those are pretty close, but are they the same? Well, you don't have to get out a measuring tape or a ruler to figure this out. If they don't mark them with tick marks, they're not the same, or they might be the same, but they're not telling you they're the same. So you may have to prove that another way. So equal lengths are not equal angles, same thing. If just because they look the same doesn't mean they are. Perpendicular lines. So if I have a line like this is, once again, perpendicular lines are going to be the same as a right angle, except that it obviously has the other side over here. So unless they tell me it's a right angle, I can't assume it to be perpendicular. And the last is parallel. Like these two lines here, they look parallel to me, but if they are going to tell you they're parallel, they'll use the little mark on them like this that tells me those lines are parallel. If they don't tell me, I can't assume. So these are the things that I can't assume. Here's the things that I can.